The Russian Revolution, Catastrophe, An Insider's Account by Alexander Kerensky, Premier of the Russian Provisional Government, July 21st through November 7th, 1917. Narrated by Peter Lerman. This book was first published in 1927 and is currently in the public domain. This recording is copyrighted in 2024 by Bull Mouse Publishing House. Introduction. The subject of this book is an historical episode, but the book itself is not history. It is simply the story of an eyewitness who accidentally found himself in the center of events marking the turning point in the history of the biggest nation on the European continent. A correct conception of present developments in Russia is impossible without some understanding of the inner substance of the Russian Revolution of March 1917, that is, of the period between the fall of the monarchy and the establishment of Bolshevist absolutism. It would be strange and ludicrous, however, to demand from me, a close participant of those events, that measure of historical objectivity and impartiality which we have the right to expect from the scientific historian describing the deeds of others. The participant in historical events does not perceive clearly the consequences of his own actions, but merely grasps, more or less, the significance of these consequences. He does know well, however, the psychological motives which prompt him to this or that practical decision. On the other hand, the historian finds it extremely difficult to penetrate into the inner spiritual laboratory of the actors of an historical drama, into those recesses of the soul where these events matured. He does see well the consequences of the actions of other men. By viewing these actions from the vantage point of time, he acquires the privilege of objectivity. To be sure, any participant of an historical drama can, by the force of hindsight, advance the portrayal of the conduct and actions of his contemporaries and those of his own to a point of view approximating that from which these events will be seen 10, 20, or 30 years hence. But such historical narration cannot really pretend to be history, because the writing of history requires the maturing through a process of many decades of the events described. Nevertheless, epics close to the periods particularly rich in historicity, as measured by years and not by substance, bring forth many objective histories from the pens of falsifiers.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?